Hi, I'm Scott, and I spend a lot of time talking about power stations and solar power. But today I'm talking about something a little bit different. Even though you might use a power station during an emergency, we want to talk about something beyond a power station, and that's whether or not you need an emergency kit. Well, yes, it is a smart idea to have one, but what does it mean when I say emergency kit? I'm not talking about a full-on go bag filled up with everything you need to live the rest of your life. This is just to tide you and your family over for a day or two in emergency. An emergency kit is simply a gathering of supplies that can help you deal with emergencies. Generally, these supplies deal with food, water, shelter, first aid, and communication. When you think about a kit, think about what you need for a day or two, not for weeks or months. Can you buy a kit? Yes, you can buy a kit. There are some ready-made ones that are available. They're sold by lots of different places like Walmart, Home Depot, outdoor stores, Amazon. Even some power station companies sell them like Opus. I actually got one of theirs recently, and no, they didn't pay me to make this video, and I'm not going over everything that's in their kit. These pre-made kits by these places, they're a good place to start, but most won't have everything you want or everything you might need, and some may have things you don't really think you need. So you're going to want to definitely maybe get one, but then you'd want to build from there. So what does your kit need? Ready.gov has a list of basic supplies, and you can follow the link in the description to see if you agree with their list. I'm going to go over some things, and you may have different priorities than I have. You may need something I don't mention or something that's not listed on that website. I'm going to give you my list. You can check the website, and you can do some research and build your own kit, adding what you need and skipping what you don't. Just go ahead and think through different situations, loss of power, loss of water, if you have to be out of your house for a while. What would you need? What would you miss if it wasn't there? So, what will you need? First, you're going to need the basics. That's food, water, shelter. And then you might add some essentials like lights, tools, first aid, and toiletries. So let's talk about the basics. Water is the most important part of your kit. You need water more than anything else, more than food or shelter. So you have to take care of water first. You don't want to go even one day without water. Now you can always store a jug of water just like this. We have a few in our house. Now the kit that I got actually came with this filtering straw where you can put this end into water and drink out of it, or put dirty water in a bottle or a bag and filter it through, and then you can use this little filter here to make the water something that you can drink. You might want to get a bucket to store a large amount of water. Now more on that later. So let's talk about food. You need some food that can be stored and is available to you. It could be canned food. Now you want to make sure you have a can opener. You may want a mess kit, something like this. Comes with a couple different pans, that kind of stuff, different utensils and things, and you can kind of use it if you're preparing some of your food. Maybe would want to think about some disposable plates, maybe some utensils, but probably maybe even a camp stove. This one that I have, it kind of came with this little camp stove. You just fold it open here. You would screw it to a can of propane just like this to the top, and it's got a little igniter. And so once you turn the gas on, you hit the igniter, then you've got a flame, and you can cook something in your mess kit. This could also be handy if you're backpacking or on a trip. But in a pinch, if you don't have any power, or if you are away from your house and you need to cook something, a small mess kit like this could be something very handy to have. You also might want to store some granola bars and meal bars, maybe with nuts for protein, maybe some beef jerky or dried fruits. I have these grains here that you could, maybe boil up on your mess kit if you wanted to. Remember to check your food items and replace them whenever they're near the use-by date. These grains say they're good to 2027, which is a couple years from now. And then you might want to have some matches, or waterproof matches would probably be better than this, or if you store these regular matches in a way that you could keep the water off of them. You could also get a cheap lighter, something like this, which is still, pretty easy to use. Now I saw one recommendation that I thought was pretty interesting. That was to have a small amount of candy in your emergency kit if you have kids. Having a small treat sometimes can help reorient a scared or upset child, give them something to focus on besides the immediate emergency that you're in. Let's talk about shelter. This is more about something to protect you from the elements than a tent or a structure, though a small tent may be right for you and your situation. It could be something like this rain poncho, folds up pretty nice, or an emergency blanket. This is very, very small, but can fold out and keep you warm in an emergency. You might want to stash a jacket or a blanket nearby near your emergency kit, something that you can take with you. Obviously, if you're able to stay in your home, then you would have some shelter, clothing, blankets, that kind of stuff. But if you're not at home or you have to leave in a hurry, what would you want to take with you that would help keep you warm and dry? So that's food, water, and shelter. Now, once you have those basics, we should branch out into the essentials. So I want to talk about something that is maybe not something you think of as part of an emergency kit, and that is a bucket. Buckets carry things, which is very, very helpful. Now, this is a food grade bucket, so you can actually store food or drinkable water in it. Did you know, and this is something that you may not know if you haven't really had to deal with any kind of plumbing, but in an emergency with no power and no water pressure, you can use a bucket of non-drinkable water to flush a toilet. You literally just pour it into the tank and then the toilet works as normal. No need to dig a latrine in the back of the yard. What if you're in an emergency and maybe you think you're going to lose water service? So you fill up your bathtub and now you have a bucket like this, or maybe a smaller one, that you can use to dump water into your toilet to make sure that all of your sanitation needs are taken care of. Or you could use this kind of bucket to transfer water from a creek, a pond, or a lake, or another area to bring water back into your home. So buckets, definitely something you want to get. They're not expensive. You can get them lots of different places. Let's talk about lights. There are tons of rechargeable lights. I used to have a flashlight you could actually squeeze and that would generate power. I've got this light that has a rechargeable battery in it. This light also has a rechargeable battery in it and has multiple modes. You just punch the button a few times and it'll do things. There. This light is recharged by USB and it's magnetic, so it comes on when you pull it loose. This light is another small light, pretty bright, but you just run it with a AAA battery. This is another rechargeable light. It's also fairly bright. Lots of different lights, all different sizes. This is just a camping light, which runs off of AA batteries and has a couple of different modes, including a red mode, which helps at night. This is a lantern. You can actually pop these open, pull it out, and you've got a fairly bright lantern for if it's nighttime and you don't have any power, as well as you've got a flashlight or flashing red lights for an emergency, and this actually flashes the SOS Morse code if you were in an emergency and you needed to signal someone. I kind of wish that this wasn't red. I wish it was the white light that was flashing that, just because I figure that that's going to be seen further. But either way, it's still pretty handy to have. You're definitely going to have some lights of some sort, whether that's just run off regular battery power or something that you can recharge in some way. Again, you're not trying to use these lights for weeks on end. They're just for a couple of days. So you can get all kinds of fairly small rechargeable lights for not too much money nowadays. Now candles can work, but you're going to want to be careful. No one wants an uncontrolled fire during an emergency, but we have lit several candles around the house to light it up during power outages before. First aid. Even if it's just a few bandages or an ACE bandage, try to add some kind of a first aid kit. Now, you can buy various sizes of first aid kits just like this one. It's bright red, it's waterproof. It's got bandages, some burn ointment, some gauze, that kind of stuff, some antiseptic wipes. Whatever you need, just try to get something to help you, not to help you through major trauma, obviously, but if you have minor cuts and scrapes, having a first aid kit on hand during an emergency is a big relief. Maybe you want to gather together a few days of your prescription medicine if you take some of that. Obviously, make sure you check the expiration date on those as well. What about a multi-tool? Now, these are everywhere, and they're actually not very expensive anymore. Many of them come with a can opener, which is helpful if you have some canned food that you're storing. They can be very handy. Maybe you just have a regular pocket knife. This one's shaped like a hammer, also has pliers, a blade, some bits. This is actually similar to a Swiss Army knife with lots of different things on it. This is a very small dime, pocket-sized Gerber. I have larger ones that I use all the time. Again, these are not super expensive anymore. You can spend a lot of money on them, but these will be something that might be of help to you. But what you want to remember is that these things do a lot of things. They don't do a lot of things very well, although I think this one actually would drive a nail pretty good. But if the choice is that you need a screwdriver and you don't have one, or you have a screwdriver that's slightly awkward to hold, I'll take having a screwdriver that's slightly awkward to hold over not having the tool that I need. Let's talk about toiletries. Now, if you remember COVID, then you know how important a roll of toilet paper can be. A few basic hygiene items could be very valuable in your kit. Things like soap or possibly hand sanitizer. Now you're probably going to be able to go a day or two without a shower, but you're going to want to wash your hands so whenever you eat you can maintain health, and you might need to clean some things. You might want to have some deodorant around. It's kind of a luxury, but if you're going to be close to a lot of people, maybe having a stick of deodorant that doesn't cost very much to stick it in your emergency kit, why not? Maybe some wet wipes, moist towelettes, things like that. Anything you can think of that would be easy to store and help keep things clean and hygienic. Keep it clean so you can use it. Let's talk about communication. You're going to want to keep your phone with you. Now, in some cases, the phone service is going to fail, but you're going to want to keep that with you just in case you ever are in an area or when the service comes back, so you can have that connectivity. If you don't have phone service and you aren't able to check things on the internet, then of course something like this little weather radio might really be helpful for you. This one comes with a light, a rechargeable battery. It has a crank in the back where you can actually recharge it if you want to. It's a little nicer than some. It costs about $50 or $60, but you can get a basic one that just runs on like AAA batteries for like 15 to 20 bucks. The main thing that you want to make sure it has the weather band so that you can get the weather updates. I mean, it's always nice to have another light, and this one, of course, brighter, and then it flashes that SOS thing if you were needing it. But like I said, this is a Midland. I think it's like their 210 model. They make more expensive ones. They make cheaper ones. This one's pretty nice. There are way cheaper ones than this. It supposedly is rechargeable by the solar panel. I haven't tried that. You can also charge it by plugging in, and it even has a USB output on the back where you can charge your phone if you need to. Now, also, while we're talking about charging, let's talk about power in general. You might want to have a power bank or something handy just like this radio, or even a small power station like this Anker 200 DC. It's only about 4 pounds. The battery that's in here is big enough that it can charge multiple phones, a computer with its battery, anything that you need, definitely for that day or two that you might be out. You can even buy small solar panels that have USBs directly out of it, so you could just put a solar panel out in your yard and charge your phone directly off of that. If you want to, those aren't too expensive. There's lots of different ways that you can kind of keep power going, even in a power outage where you're not in your home. Maybe you don't have access to your larger power stations or big solar panels. So there's probably other things you're going to need, supplies you can't do without for a day. Whatever it is, make your emergency kit fit your needs. How do you get started? Look, you don't have to go all out. Maybe you just buy a small kit to start. They have some fairly inexpensive ones out there, or just put together a few things. Like start with like a jug of water. Maybe get one of these water filters, something like that. What else do you already have around the house? Do you have some matches? Do you have maybe several flashlights like I do? Or maybe you have a whistle that you might want to have for signaling an emergency, or matches, or lighters, or some food that you could definitely store. Whatever it is, kind of put that together and then start thinking about what you might need to add to it, and then add to it over time. Start buying more items here and there, and before you know it, you're going to have a decently stocked emergency kit. Just make your emergency kit fit your needs. Stock it with what you need, but start thinking about it and start making your kit today. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.